Dobrý den, já vás zdravím v novém roce 2025 a v novém videu. Today we are going to talk about informal Czech a little bit. I'm going to introduce 15 words that are commonly used in Czech. Most of them are adverbs. And what's interesting about them is that you can see them in 2 or sometimes even 3 different forms, which are translated the same way. For example, the word Dříve or Dřív. They both mean sooner. So what's the difference? Let's take a look at it. Ahoj, vítejte na mém kanále Czech by Zuzka, kde vám pomocí angličtiny vysvětluju českou gramatiku. Let's take a look at the first 5 words. Dříve, like I said, sooner or earlier. But we often say dřív, pronounced as dřív. Dřív. The only difference between these 2 words is one of them is informal and the other one is formal. Which one do you think is more formal? It is this one. And so it will be for the rest of the words. Sometimes when the word has a longer form, it means it's informal. And sometimes some words become shorter and that means they are informal. So it is a little bit confusing. That's why in this video I decided to gather 15 words that get shortened in their informal use. So for informal Czech we use the shorter words. The rule for this video is simple. If the word is shorter, it's informal. Like I said, dříve and dřív both mean earlier or sooner, and when we speak, we often make it shorter. We say dřív. You can also notice that in songs or in poems, we choose the short or the long version depending on how many syllables we need. So for example, if you needed a 2-syllable word and you needed to say sooner, you would say dříve. You wouldn't maybe worry about whether it's formal or informal. And if you need a 1-syllable word, you would naturally say dřív. And what is also interesting about these, all of these are adverbs, and this is their second degree. It means more. For example, here, earlier, sooner. And this would be the same for the third degree as well. If we add nej for all these words, it would be the same case. For example, dříve, nejdříve, more formal. Dřív, nejdřív, less formal. So for example, uděláme to co nejdřív. We will do it as soon as possible. Co nejdřív, as soon as possible. Or co nejdříve, and it would be a bit more formal. Déle and deal, more informal, and also there is a change here. Inside the word, dél does not exist. There is a double change. We made it short and we also changed to e, deal. This means longer, in a longer way or longer time. And in colloquial Czech, it can also mean later. Kdo to vydrží díl? Who can last longer? Kdo to vydrží díl or déle, more formal. And also nejdéle, nejdíl, the longest. Lépe, líp, better. And you can notice a very similar change here, as well as nejlépe, nejlíp, the best. There is a very handy phrase, čím dřív, tím líp. The sooner, the better. Čím dřív, tím líp. Or čím dříve, tím lépe. Hůře and hůř mean worse. Here we simply got rid of the last vowel, hůř. And we could also have nejhůře, nejhůř, the worst. Ve tmě vidím hůř. I see worse in the dark. Ve tmě vidím hůř. Or ve tmě vidím hůře. Dále a dál, this means further. Or sometimes when it appears with a verb, it could also mean on. Something continues, it goes on. For example, čti dál, čti dále. Čti dál would mean keep reading. And there's also another very useful phrase, and so on in Czech is a tak dále. A tak dále nebo a tak dál. And again, we could also say nejdále, nejdál, the furthest. Méně and míň are probably words that you know. It means less. And again, we see there is a change. We got rid of this last letter and also e changed to i. Méně, míň, informal. The same rule applies for these as for the previous ones. If you add nej, it will be the superlative. Nejméně, and nejmíň means the least. It means less and fewer actually. So for example, bylo tam míň lidí, bylo tam méně lidí, there were fewer people. Bylo tam míň lidí. Více and víc on the contrary is more. And also nejvíce, nejvíc, the most. Imagine you are cooking and someone tells you, dej tam víc mouky. Dej tam víc mouky, nebo dej tam více mouky. Add more flour in there. Dej tam víc mouky. In spoken Czech, you would probably not hear více mouky. I covered these two words in a video from last year. You will find the link in the description of the video, so you can watch it if you're interested in learning more about these words. Snáze and snáz mean more easily. More easily. And again, nejsnáze, nejsnáz, in the easiest way. It's also possible to say snadněji for the formal Czech. Snadněji. Both these forms are proper. Snáze, snadněji. And informal Czech has this form, short form, snáz. And again, the Z at the end is pronounced as S. Snáz, snáz. Takhle to půjde snáz. It will be easier this way. Takhle to půjde snáz. Nebo snáze, nebo snadněji. Spíše a spíš. These are interesting. They mean rather. What is interesting is that if you take a look at spíš, the informal form, it looks like the verb to sleep. You sleep is spíš. So do not confuse them. And this word we use a lot in Czech. As well as nejspíše and nejspíš, most likely. This can be translated as a rather or more likely. To bude vědět spíš děda. Grandpa will probably know that better. Or grandpa is more likely to know that. To bude vědět spíš děda. Or spíše děda. Raději and radši. That means also rather or preferably. When you say that you prefer something more. And also nejraději, nejradši. For example, co máš nejradši? Co máš nejradši? What do you like the most? Co máš nejradši? Co máš nejraději? This phrase is really useful. When you're frustrated, you can say, já bych se na to nejradši vykašlal. I'd rather just forget about it. Vykašlat se na něco means to forget about something, to ignore it. It's a colloquial Czech. Vykašlat also means to cough out. So we're coughing at problems. There are other stronger verbs, which I'm not going to mention here. Já bych se na to nejradši vykašlala. Now these last 5 words are not like the previous ones because we cannot compare them, we cannot have their second or third degree, so you cannot add nej to these ones. But there are still shorter versions of them, which are informal. For example, the word teprve and teprv, which means only or only just. Jsou teprv 4 a už je tma. It's only 4 and it's already dark. Jsou teprv or teprve 4 a už je tma. Naposledy and naposled, which means for the last time. Kdy jsi tady byla naposled? Kdy jsi tady byla naposledy? When was the last time you were here? Kdy jsi tady byla naposled? If you say naposled, D will be pronounced as T, naposled. Naposled, as well as here, teprv. So keep in mind what we do in Czech, that some consonants at the end will be voiceless. Teprv, naposled. Alespoň, aspoň. At least. This might be a new word for you, but it's really handy in both formal and informal Czech. Aspoň. I use this all the time. Tak si dáme aspoň něco k pití. So let's at least have something to drink. Tak si dáme aspoň něco k pití. nebo alespoň. Alespoň něco k pití. Zase and zas are one of the words which are used to translate the English again. I covered this in the past and you will also find the link in the description. Kdo to zase zvoní? Who's ringing again? Who's at the door ringing? Kdo to zase zvoní? Or kdo to zas zvoní? Depends if you feel like saying one syllable or two syllables. Jako and jak are translated as like. And I also covered this a few months ago. Be careful because jako can be shortened to jak only when we talk about a comparison, a simile. When you say something looks like, someone acts like. Not when we talk about as a function. For example, mám hlad jak vlk. I'm as hungry as a wolf. Mám hlad jako vlk, jak vlk. Here it could be problematic to say mám hlad jak vlk. It's too many one-syllable words. Mám hlad jak vlk. You could get tangled. So it's okay to say jako. Mám hlad jako vlk. It doesn't mean that it would be too formal. So this was a brief overview of words that exist in two or more forms and they mean exactly the same. You just use them in different situations. Some of them are more common in informal Czech. Remember, these words that I introduced, these 15 words, are informal when they're shorter. We will also do an exercise, but hold on a minute. In this video, I didn't have enough time to go through these words and give you enough examples for each word. So if there is a word that you're particularly interested in, let me know in the comments. Now, let's take a look at that exercise. Let's take a look at these 6 sentences and fill in the missing words. I also want you to think, are those words that you put in formal or informal? Pause the video and we will check it once you're ready. Jdeme na to. Číslo 1. Přijď radši o 5 minut dřív. Přijď radši o 5 minut dřív. Radši and dřív are both informal. It's the shorter version. Číslo 2. Kubo, pojď dál. Pojď dál. Dál is informal. Číslo 3. Máš aspoň česnek? Aspoň, it's short, so it's informal. Pacientovi je o trochu lépe než včera. Lépe is formal. It's slightly longer. Líp would be the informal version. Spíš si dám čaj. Po kafi se mi hůř spí. Spíš, hůř, both informal. Číslo 6. A to je teprve začátek. Teprve. This is the formal version. A to je ode mě všechno. Let me know your thoughts. Maybe you can think of more words that are shorter in their informal version. And if you're up for it, I would like to give you a task. Because we didn't have enough example sentences, you can visit this website, corpus.cz, and look for words in context. You can simply write any keyword from these words that I introduced and pick a sentence that you like. Paste it in the comments and translate it. Or I can help you translate this sentence. That way we'll have a nice list of example sentences. Thank you so much for watching and I'll see you next week. Mějte se, čau čau.